not a felony. Yes, that's what I did.
Oh, thanks. Yep.
They're nice.
June 4th. Right around the corner.
You got everything set up, right? So you're ready to go.
I mean, it's number 1, so yeah, everything is a setup. She's not sleeping very hard now, so she's just trying to prep me for what's to come.
Yeah, boy or girl?
Boy,
Congratulations.
thank you.
Number one.
Number 1.
5 to go.
I don't know about that.
Tell her that right now.
Well, she's on board with that. She had a very rough first trimester. She's like, there's no way I'm going more than 2 of these.
Yeah, that's what I'm at with the first trimester was so rough. It's like, one more time, because I want my daughter to have it, sit with me after that. But,
She ended up, she couldn't do it all, lost like 25 pounds.
alright, wow.
That's, yeah, she's turning down like brownies, cookies, you know, something's not good. Howdy, guys.
I didn't have one over.
I didn't see one.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
There's, here, this one's good. Sure, Mike.
You got anything to say? Actually, let's, I'll look at that, Sean and I aren't sitting on the same.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, all the way over.
No, I mean, just like, the mics. Just.
Beautiful. All right, so let's go ahead and call this Town Superior Open Space Advisory Committee meeting to order for April 12th, 2017. Let's just go through and do introductions. Ken Lish, Chair.
Sean Samuelson, member.
Andy Block, member.
Tracy Collar, member. Tricia Dunham, vice chair.
Brian Welch, member.
Joel White, member. All right.
Mark Lasis, trustee liaison.
Allison James, staff liaison.
Perfect. And not seeing any public. I don't think we have any public comment for the night. So I guess first agenda item, just wanted to circle back and see where people were, if they had any questions, problems, concerns with the open space review that we're doing. Anybody have any comments on where we're at or any questions?
I guess my comment is similar to those questions I was asking. It's just some of these criteria are just really hard to know what to put on there. Right, again, noxious weeds. I mean, I can't even get on the property. I can't memorize the weeds. You know, yeah, exactly. And then endangered species. I'm just not qualified.
Yeah.
Just wondering if some of these we should strike.
Right, so I had that exact same feeling. I feel like we could narrow it down to 4 metrics, really. I mean, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here, in my opinion. The people that did this before did a very thorough job. I'm very impressed by what they've done. But as a committee, I feel like we need to say, okay, those are those metrics, let's leave them the same, and maybe we should create some of our own that are, I guess at this point, more pertinent to the, 7 parcels or whatever number of parcels we have at this point, and the importance of proximity to other open space, if it has surface water, can we link it into other trails, and then I know that we have always said that we need to evaluate based on if Doesn't matter if it's attainable or not, we should evaluate it. But we also need to be realistic. I mean, that's really, in some ways, the point of our team. We can make whatever recommendation we want, but unless we think it's going to be attainable, we got to look at what's available right now and say, maybe we should just prioritize the ones that are for sale right now and say, are any of these worth pursuing? And go from there. So I think there is an attainability versus a desirability prioritization that we should look at here. But that's, of course, only my opinion. But I don't think that we should necessarily use the same metrics. We can use some, but I think we should bring it back a level and look at a bigger scope, a bigger picture of, as was stated in the board meeting, the tapestry of what we have currently. I think, like our trails, we prioritize anything that was closest to the current open space that we have on the west side of McCaslin. Similarly, I feel like, I mean, just from looking at the properties we have, we could prioritize easily, Rogers, that 76th Street, 6-parcel property. Is it attainable? No. We have five families or whatever to deal with. So realistically, I mean, level 3, yeah, that's always going to be priority number 1. It's the biggest parcel we have left. Bull Jack would be great, but again, people live in there. So I kind of question going through this process again. Andy and I did go over and evaluate. We looked around Anderson and such and said, well, it would be great if we had a corridor through here. Mm-hmm. But obviously, we're not going to be buying that. We just need to say, whoever's going to develop it, you got to set certain, keep their feet to the fire about open space and possibly where we want it. Do we want to have it continue along this, I guess, Tract H corridor so that we have interconnectivity from the reservoir, Hodgkin Harris Reservoir, through Anderson to this Tract H, and then across the street to Shan Shan and all that? I mean, again, it's more of a larger plan of what realistically can we do with it, as opposed to, well, reinventing the wheel. Again, that's my opinion. I'm sure everyone else has different opinions, but.
I was going to ask Allison just if I mean, as far as the noxious weed, is that something that the town, if we owned the property, would treat? Or is that why it was kind of on the list? Because I agree with everyone, I can't identify it, so I'm kind of like, but I was curious about it, thinking like maybe if we own land because you don't want it to spread, that if it was full of noxious weed, the town would have to do something about it because they would want to do it for preventative measures to get to others. That was the only reason why I could think that.
So one of the things the committee should probably keep in mind is, like, when they did this last, when the committee did this last, they had the luxury of having the Smith Environmental Survey. And all they had to do was go and look at those parcels and see, does it have noxious weeds? How is the wildlife ranking and all that? So don't be too hard on yourselves, because there was that information there for them. And it was part and parcel with the ProStack, their process. And as far as noxious weeds, yes. I mean, if there was a parcel and that we owned and noxious weeds were there, then we would come up with some type of plan to.
Other than that, I agree with what you were saying, Sean, because I do think I was looking at them, and I've done 5 of them. There's 2 I haven't gone out to yet, Anderson and 76th. But I do feel like there's very, like Bull-Jack, obviously when that family decides to sell, I think both us and Boulder County would be very interested in acquiring that. But they run an operation on that, so I don't see them looking to sell anytime soon. But, as far as its proximity to that whole area, of course, it's going to be very desirable if they ever decide to do that. Level 3, of course, though I'm much more interested lately, I think, in level 3 if we can get either easements or part of it. I don't necessarily think we have to go for all of it, so I think maybe we want to change our strategy on that, or if there's any opportunity to change our strategy, and then. Right,
it's like any of these very high-priced parcels. I mean, the reservoir, I looked at that as the only one we should reevaluate just because it's been fixed. The reservoir's now working, so now there's actually a body of water there, which obviously I think would raise the priority. But also, what about why did we strike out the Horizons property, which is the Autry, right next to Autry Reservoir, next to the mall? Is there a reason why we struck that out?
That's a hotel, right?
Yeah, that's already
came-
under development.
Oh, it is?
It's- yeah,
Oh,
that-
okay,
that's-
It's
why.
been rezoned, and there's an FDP on it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, well, I don't know if it's been fully but there's a hotel thinking about going in
They've
there,
gone through the
right?
FDP process, and there's amendments out there, I think, that
Right,
they're waiting on.
they went through the process because originally I think they were under contract for a hotel, and there was an issue with not having the infrastructure on the property already. So they rezoned it, basically platted out the townhome portion of it, and then there's 2 pads available
Yep.
for hotel space. And I believe the plan is for them to start work on it this year.
That's what I
And then
remember
when
them
the
saying.
infrastructure is done, then they'll be able to, market it to a hotel operator, because I think they want like a quick turnaround time in terms of a closing.
Yeah, so that's for that one. So I don't disagree with anything that's been said. The only thing I think that would be nice is if we have a new baseline for these. I mean, we know what they've always been ranked. I mean, ever since I've been on the committee, we've never re-ranked them or even thought about re-ranking them. It's always just been the top 3, and we've left it at that. So, I mean, whether we need to go through the entire process of filling out all these, I am completely all right with scrapping that and then saying, all right, we know what we're looking for. We're looking for connectivity. We're looking for things that will bring value to our citizens, whether it's solitude opportunities, whether it's water opportunities, something like that. I mean, would it be more effective for us, rather than trying to keep ourselves to these exact metrics, to instead go out, visit these properties, and just honestly make our own assessment and say, if I was going to put this on a 1 to 10, maybe I'd put this on as a 7, because it will have good connectivity to other open space areas or something like that. I mean,
And do you think it's worthwhile to just kind of go through these parcels and discuss it at these meetings as well, instead of just independently looking at them and trying to independently evaluate them?
I think we can do
Because
either of
probably
those.
pretty quickly.
I think we could get. I think all of us knows the properties at this point. We've been on the open space long enough. We've seen maps. Some of us have done most of the properties, or at least bits and pieces of them. I don't know. In my opinion, I think we probably could do it as a committee.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I wanted to get out of people doing it on their own was just making sure everyone got out and was familiar with the
Right.
properties. So
Right.
if we all are,
Answer questions.
Exactly. So if we're good with that and we don't need to, then I do agree. I mean, we don't need to go through this whole exercise all over again. So I suppose what I would recommend is that could take a little while to go through and actually have this discussion, questions back and forth. So rather than doing that tonight, because that wasn't really, we didn't plan that much time for this, maybe for next month's agenda, let's just say, if you haven't visited one of these, make sure you still visit it, but we can stop filling out these questionnaires and let's just talk it through as a group, and we'll go from there.
Yep.
I mean, I do think they're a good framework for how we
without
can
a
be
doubt.
ranking them, on certain things, so it definitely
you
has
think.
value.
Yeah.
Should we come with a rank ordered list, and maybe why?
Yeah, I think so. I've actually started putting together a spreadsheet. I actually only have 3 criteria. I'm looking at it for if it has surface water, reservoir, or creek, or whatever. So I'm trying to rate it based on if it has some type of water or not, proximity, and then connectivity. Those are the 3 things I'm looking at as big picture, broad stroke, kind of things.
Ken, do we know we've had interest in an FDP for Zaharias. I don't know if they're coming back or not, but they came at one point, or a concept
Yeah.
plan, not an FDP.
Now it's just radio silence, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just came with a
Rogers.
concept plan. Just a concept plan at
Yeah.
Zaharias.
What about Rogers? They've come and gone back and do we think?
Again, as far as I know, radio silence on whether they're going to proceed.
Right, so they came with a concept plan, and doesn't look like they're going to move forward on that. So, but they have existing zoning on that
Yep.
parcel, so they could build starting next week if they wanted to.
Okay. And then,
Anderson is with staff right now. I don't think it's moved forward to the planning.
But somebody's looking at it.
There is an application.
Yeah, they
in-
submitted an application. It's going through staff review right now. It hasn't gone to the planning commission yet.
Okay.
And besides that, I don't think there's any other movement on the properties, just they're private properties still.
One question, Mark. The Richmond property that the town owns,
Mhm.
has there been any discussion about what's going to happen with that? How is it zoned right now? I mean, is that something we should also
I think
consider?
it's zoned residential.
No, it's zoned like commercial.
Is it
I
zoned
thought.
commercial?
Well, that, when it came up, so I don't know if they did anything after the town bought it, but when it came up for Richmond putting homes on there, the pushback was that it was zoned light commercial, and they didn't want, the surrounding neighbors didn't want other residential builds there. So unless they've changed it from that point, that it's still light commercial, which is gas stations, strip malls.
Some sort of gas station.
There
yeah.
is no plan, though, right now. I mean, I think the concept that everybody kind of threw around was that would be the location of a rec center.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about Lakeshore, which may obviate the need to put a rec center on that parcel.
So should we consider Richmond as one of the properties to rank as well, then?
I think you can.
Okay.
You know, it's certainly in a natural open space
Sure is.
environment right now, and we wouldn't
Yes, it
need to
is.
buy it because we already own it. So.
Okay. Then I recommend we add that to our list.
We can add to the list.
I wonder if like having ownership can impact ranking as well. I mean, because it's there.
Visibility.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
I-
attainability is another thing.
Yeah.
Is my fourth thing.
That one's just going to be interesting because, I mean, it just comes down to opportunity cost for the town because it wasn't bought for open space purposes.
Right.
So, we'll throw it out there and see what happens with it.
Hypothetically, it's a valuable piece of land that the town could sell to
Mhm.
use to pay for Lakeshore, for example, you know,
Right.
or at least part of it.
And
So,
are we allowed to make counter suggestions if that's the case?
yeah, no, I think everything's on the table,
Yeah.
and nothing has been decided at this point. So, you know, we're all
Because I
ears.
know there's quite a few people that would like to see an equestrian center or something of that like put there instead.
That'd be
Okay.
interesting.
Hey, Sean, can you go over your criteria that you've been looking at so I can add them in? I know one you said was
So
water.
well, I basically took proximity and access, surface water, compatibility with adjacent land uses, and then attainability on a scale of 1 to 10.
What was your third one?
Attainability.
Compatibility with adjacent land uses.
Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, everyone just come prepared to our next meeting to have viewpoints, be ready to then defend them, and we'll just go back and forth and fight it out.
So I have a quick question. We kind of came up with the parcel map for the outreach for Arbor Day this weekend, for
Yep.
example. And do I need to make any change? I probably would not be able to make changes by Saturday. So are we good with that?
Yeah, the only
Map.
change we could possibly make would be Richmond. I guess Superior 15 is what we're calling it now. But yeah, I don't think we need to make that right now. I mean, we can
Okay.
point it out. I mean, it wouldn't be for acquisition, so we're still. I mean,
Correct.
We can
We
just
already own it.
specifically say that we're evaluating these other ones for acquisition, and then specify that if someone feels passionately about that, we'd love to hear additional thoughts and comments. So I think we're
Okay.
good.
Great.
Okay. So National Trails Day. Moving on, unless anyone has any other questions, comments. All right. National Trails Day. We reached out, just circling back on everything that we had left open from last month. We reached out to the CAPS committee to see if they wanted to have a booth. They discussed it and decided not to. They are going to be having parties in the parks instead, kind of around the town, and I believe that's in either right before or right after. I think it's right after National Trails Day. So since they're going to be doing that, they decided they didn't need to join us, but they did ask if we would be willing to have like a small piece of paper or multiple pieces of paper, flyers on our table. just advertising it for them. Personally, I don't see anything wrong with it. It's just trying to continue to get more outreach for the town. So unless anybody's strongly opposed to that, I'll let their chair know that we'd be happy to do that. Trish, you reached out to the running club and to scouts.
Yeah, so the running club will do a run. I'll get the time, but I think it's 7:30. Actually, when are we starting? 9?
9.
I think it's 8:15. They figure that way they'll be back for, but I'll verify that. But they'll do a run, walk. And I did reach out to the Boy Scouts, and they will do a booth again, sort of what they did the Leave No Trace Behind, sort of those scouting. They did ask me, Allison, did we order them a tent or did we not order them a tent?
They brought their own tent last year.
Okay.
Boulder County who will be there.
Okay. So they just asked, so I'm wondering if they're having tent issues this year. So that's fine. I can let them know we didn't put one.
If they need one, is it too late to add that to the order?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Because I gave it all to Katie, and what she does is she orders for all the events in the beginning of the year.
Okay.
Just to get like a discounted price.
Gotcha.
To make sure that the equipment is available. I can check.
Yeah, let me.
If you know for sure that they don't have it.
We can just
So
put it
they're
as
definitely interested. I have the materials we used last year, and I can also see if the committee wants to add something a little new and different. That her committee she's talking about is the Boy Scouts. Should we bring our own setup table and chairs, or will that be provided? So I can tell her.
we have
that-
table and chairs they can use.
But they should bring their own tent. I'll tell them.
If possible. If not, then I can try to.
Nope, that's fine. I will. They had one, so I assume that they have it. I just wanted to. So they're in.
Cool.
And then we have Hawk Quest at 9:30 to 10:30, and Center for Snake Conservation, I set them up from 11 to 12. So we'll have something going on. A lot of the time, I did leave that half an hour gap between the two main programs so that people can, go around to the different tents and check stuff out while they switch the material out.
Perfect. I think the only other thing that I at least continue to put some thought to, Sarah had brought up the idea of having laptops for people to fill out SurveyMonkey rather than filling out just little pieces of paper. I was trying to think about the actual logistics of making that happen. I mean, most of us have been there before. People are hot and sweaty because they're normally getting off bikes and that sort of thing. Yeah. There's lots of kids around as well, bumping stuff. I mean, I'm not sure I'd want to bring my own personal laptop and put it there. And I doubt there's a bunch of extra laptops the town has lying around that we can just bring or anything like that. So as awesome of an idea that is, I don't know if it's realistic or feasible to make it happen. So my thought was continue doing pieces of paper and pen.
I think so, because I don't plan on bringing mine.
Yeah.
So I think the risk is too much if you break it.
Agreed.
I'm not even sure if we'd be close. Is there even power there? There is power there, right? I don't even know if they'd
Well, I wonder
last.
if you could do a SurveyMonkey link and let people fill it out on their phones while they're sitting there.
We could, but I don't know if everybody would have their phones. I don't think we get as many people putting their names in.
But can you have it as an option if they, again, paper one or to take the link and do it at home?
Yeah, we could do that.
It'll be easy to compile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy.
For you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No, last year me and my wife took turns filling in pieces of paper into the spreadsheet. That was a blast.
If you want to provide that spreadsheet with all the emails to me, then I can also make sure that we send out our cleanup event to them and our National Trails Day.
Reminder.
Yeah, maybe, if you want.
Yeah, I like the idea of, here, if you want to fill it out later, you can fill one out now or later, or do it on your phone. Some people carry their phone everywhere. So.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. So I think we're basically on target then. Did everyone grab shirts as they came in? If you didn't,
Yes. Thank you, Allison.
yeah, Allison, thank you very much. So man, I think we're pretty much squared away on that. The only other thing, I mean, we'll need to grab waters and juices, which is what we had last year. But besides that, our swag came in. I don't know if anybody wants to see it. I think it looks really nice. We've got 500 of them. I've got a roughly like 40% of those in my car right now. I figure we could have that for Arbor Day.
Yep.
And then the remaining 60% or so we would bring for National Trails Day. So we'll
And
just,
then any of Jeff and Paige, anything that's
if,
left over at that
if there is
point
any
is Jeff and
leftovers,
Paige,
we
and
can
then,
go from there.
how much did we end up spending on this?
200?
Something close to that last year. The other thing is that the Student Leadership Council, they are going to come to our next meeting, is their plans, and to talk about what the group wants them to do for National Trails Day. I know that last year they did snacks. The year before they did Predator and Prey games. But they felt that since there are so many things planned for that day, almost hourly, maybe we give them something and, that the group wants them to do more specifically than them coming up with something. I also have those signs, so for the public engagement, the parcels and the dog waste sign.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Dog waste sign came out a little fuzzy, but unless we came up with our own, media stuff for that process, to share it, it's just a little fuzzy.
So who's their staff liaison for student leadership?
Is Kevin Colon.
Okay. Do you know when they meet? Do they have one more meeting in between? So they have to have another meeting between now and our next one. I want
to say they met last week. So I think they're right before us.
Okay.
Like the week before us.
I mean, I think what would be useful is if they still come to us with ideas. I mean, I don't want to dictate to them what they should be doing. I mean, it's always been good for them to come with their own ideas just because they're kind of an autonomous group that gets to come up with their own direction. So, I mean, if they want to come to us with 3 or 4 ideas and look for our input, I think that'd be great. I'm not sure I want to tell them this is exactly what you guys should do for National Trails Day, though.
But did they ask for that because they couldn't come up with ideas? I guess that would be the only thing, if they were asking because they weren't,
I think that how I understood it is that it was more about there were so many activities going on, and for them to plan the Predator and Prey game or something like that, either they would probably have to have their own time slot within the day of events, or it would be something educational that the group was interested in getting the word out on during that day. And I also got the Boulder County Rangers, so they'll be out again, and they're doing the trail etiquette, which the group was interested in them doing, and they were happy to do it. So.
Okay. Perfect. Well, we'll meet with them next month. So besides that, I think we're good. I think everything's kind of set up, and we're in a good spot for National Trails Day. So, yep, everyone just mark your calendar. And I didn't actually think about that till now, but evidently I probably won't be able to be there because I will have a newborn. That is...
Bring 'em.
That's actually the day he's supposed to be born. So we'll see.
Take him for a hike.
Yeah. Get him started early.
That's right. Exactly.
Okay. Anything else before we move on?
It's June 4th, right?
Yep, June 4th. Okay.
I'll be born until the 5th. It'll be fine.
Yeah. The Arbor Day event, that is this upcoming weekend, I believe from 9 to 12 at Wildflower Park, which is the new park. Again, as we just circling back from what we discussed last month, we discussed that we would reach out to the public about our open space priorities and if we could get feedback there. And we would reach out about dog waste, which we'll also have the poster board for. We will pass out the swag, and that we would advertise the Great Superior cleanup. I am still kind of moving things around in my schedule. I can probably show up for about half the time. I think Sarah said she can be there for the full time. Is there?
I'll be there as well.
Okay, for part of the time, full time?
The full time, generally. I mean, I don't know that it will last all the way to 12. It might. The weather's always been kooky on that event, so, but I'll plan on being
What
there.
time does it start at? I didn't see that in the email.
9.
9, the email.
It's
Didn't have
longer this
time
year.
On it. They just set the date, didn't say a time.
The one from the CAC?
Yeah.
It's longer this year than previous years, because I want to say previous years were 10 to 12, that I've shown up at 10. And there's a new event this year of obstacle course or something, or some team activity. That's why I figured it also extended.
Yeah, Leadership Council is doing a group obstacle course, and staff from Impact Sports is also working in conjunction with the Youth Leadership Council to do that. Part of it will be an obstacle course around the whole park, to play on all the equipment, timing it, and taking a picture at the end and entering into a raffle. So it's pretty cool because there's a lot of neat stuff out there that everybody can check out.
Excellent. Okay, so Trish, since I don't know exactly if or when I'll be able to get there, I'll give you the box when we. Perfect. Okay, so I think we're good on that. Next topic is the cleanup event. So far, we are up to 17 people who have registered, plus a scout troop, which is awesome. I think more than half are people who've asked for us to deliver the supplies to their house. And then I think it's roughly a quarter each. Someone to just pick it up at town hall, and some are going to supply their own stuff. So I think we're looking good there. Allison's been putting out some marketing over the past month, but I figure this week we'll really do a big rush on all the social medias. I'm sure we'll put out one more on the CAC from staff. I figure we can put out one more ourselves. I mean, I'll do it kind of in an unofficial capacity. Just write something out there with the 027 Facebook group, Nextdoor, anything else that you guys have access to. I'd say just try to get as many people as we can. As far as the actual cleanup supplies go themselves, Allison, I was just going to go pick up like the gloves, garbage bags, that sort of thing, and make packages, and then I can just provide a receipt or something.
That'd be great. And I can send a final e-blast that last week before. I have it on my calendar to do, so if that's okay. Do a final e-blast.
So, Kim, what are you looking for from us? Do we have to staff a cleanup event? Do we need to deliver stuff?
So that was what I was kind of going to get at. I was planning, I had no problem just going around and delivering everything to the people who had asked for it. I now have a work trip that I'll be getting back around 6 o'clock on that Friday. So maybe what I can do is this weekend, I'll put together little packages of supplies and maybe distribute them to people who can go out and deliver them. I can still take care of some when I get back on Friday night, but if we split it up between a couple other people, I doubt we'll have to go to more than a total of 20 homes. So it'll only be like 4, 5, 6 houses per person. So what I'll do is, what works for people, I can have all of them ready and then shoot out the addresses, and if people want to just swing by my house and pick up the packages, I'll have my wife put them out on the stoop. That way you guys can grab them. Is that easiest rather than trying to coordinate another way? Okay, so let's just midweek, I'll look at how many people we have signed up, shoot out the addresses to everybody, and then I'll also have my wife put the stuff out on the stoop, and you guys can pick them up and then do the deliveries.
Are we picking up waste at the end, or are we just asking people to put it in?
No,
like,
so
trash
yeah,
buckets?
I was going to send an email out to everybody who signed up. We're going to ask them just to put it in buckets. This is 100% an independent thing. We're not going to go with people at all. So anytime during the weekend, they're just pledging that they will go out and do this. So I'm going to let them know ahead of time, just more or less say, hey, thanks again for pledging to do this, kind of as a reminder. Let them know that we'll be dropping stuff off for them if they chose that option, and then letting them know that we're going to be asking them to give us roughly an estimate of how much they picked up and where they picked up, that sort of thing. And then also...
Or any photos.
Exactly. Photos, so we can distribute a hashtag if they want to do Instagram, Twitter, whatever. But we can also just say if you have photos, we'd love your photos also. So
I also let park staff know about your weekend, so, because our trash cans are everywhere, so they'll be kind of keep an eye out to make sure that, it's cleaned up if it's full or more full than normal.
perfect. So yeah, I think we're good there. So I'd say just watch your email and we'll coordinate getting stuff out to people. Allison, do you know, one of the options that I had put out was people can just swing by town hall and pick it up. Do you know if it's okay if we just give the people behind the desk just like a package of these supply packets?
I think it would be fine if there was, a kind of
it wouldn't
like
be,
a copy paper box or something.
It would probably even be smaller than that, so it'd be real easy.
I think that would be totally fine. And if we just put some kind of note on it, like if people are coming for Great Superior cleanup, these are the supplies, hand them out.
Okay.
Yeah, they're great at the front desk all the time.
And good advertising when you jumped on that conversation last week. Plugged it right in there.
Yeah. Anytime Poops talked about it, I try to throw that out there. We're here for you. Yeah. Okay, cool. So I think we're good on that. The next update, ProStack, OSAC, or sheet conversation, just making sure everyone's staying in the loop on what's been going on. It was brought up at the retreat. Trish was there. Trish, you just want to give kind of a rundown of what was discussed?
Yes, so they were discussing combining the committees. I clarified our point of view of just we were looking for direction from the board, if possible, that we thought that both committees had a lot of work to do, so that they should stay. And I think at the end, there wasn't a decision made. I think unless, Mark, you think there was a decision, it seemed, the decision that seemed to want to be made was, I don't want to talk about this anymore because it's been on a number of agendas and topics, but I don't know that it's, if the board has made any official decision at this point.
Board has not, and frankly, I don't know where the discussion is or where it's going, other than we think the committees both have a lot of work to do right now, so carry on.
All right.
Yeah. So that's the update.
I was there, as well as the chair of ProStack, Peter Bonham, was there for their perspective.
Yep.
And then I had to leave and pick up kids. I didn't know that the Lakeshore thing was going to come up after I would have stayed.
Oh man, you missed the funnest part.
I didn't realize that I was rushing out the door for school pickups.
Okay. So I just wanted to add one more item before we get to updates and look ahead. The 5-year trail plan ranking that we do every year. This is roughly that time of year that we do that. I reached out to Peter, the ProStack chair, and they are currently pulling together the spreadsheet that we fill out. Just as a reminder, everybody, we do our ranking, ProStack does their ranking. We try to do it on the exact same format of spreadsheet. That way we can say we have OSAC, ProStack, combine them together and say this is a combined one. and then depending on how far off they are, sometimes OSAC and ProStac leadership will get together and see if there's anything that needs to be compromised, moved up, moved down, so we can put a single recommendation out to the board. So I think right now Peter told me that he's asked Patrick Hammer to update the map. If you recall, there's some trails we were just going to drop completely. So that's what's going on. As soon as we get the as soon as we get the new map / new spreadsheet, I'll distribute to everybody, and we go ahead and fill it out, and I'll send out instructions. I think it's something that most of us have been through now. Andy, did you go through it with us? I actually can't remember. Okay. Well, we'll send out instructions, and if need be, we can also just talk about it at a meeting before we finalize it. But that's on our radar, so watch your emails and be expecting that. Updates and look-aheads. So the Jeff and Paige concert, after the whole rigmarole of trying to figure out how we were going to get ice cream into the mouths of the children of Superior, it was finally decided that we would just pass out some type of single-serve ice cream, like ice cream sandwiches or something like that. And
So I'm on target for doing that, just to
Lady.
That's Friday night at Wildflower Park, but do I just go down to like Costco and buy $100 worth of ice cream? Is that basically kind of the plan? I just want to, like ice cream
cooler.
Sandwiches or whatever.
I think that's a great idea, and you can just give me the receipt, and I can have you reimbursed.
Do you have a big enough cooler
If-
for all that?
I have 2, so I should be all
Okay.
right.
I do have some giant coolers if you need additional
I
cool
might-
I was
space.
going to say, I have a big one too for camping.
Okay.
if you need another.
What happened to Sweet Cow?
Sweet Cow got eliminated, apparently.
So I
The
think-
board asked us to, I don't know if you were at that meeting, but the board asked, why aren't we just giving it away? Or
Well, so
Yeah,
this-
no, but I thought the board was in favor of paying Sweet Cow to be there.
So again, so there was some type of weird communication system going on that Patrick was getting, my understanding, Allison, please correct me if I'm wrong. We were getting direction from Patrick Hammer, the director of Parks and Rec, who was, my understanding is that he was getting direction from either Town Manager Magley or other members of the board, and we went through a series of changes after we had all talked about this at our joint meeting and how it'd be great to pay Sweet Cow.
Right.
It had been recommended we reach out to George Kuffner because he does that thing
Right.
for free. After working with him for a while, he came back and said, I do a ton of stuff for the town, and I'm not sure I can do another free event. And for good reason, totally understand. I said, okay, that's great. We'll switch back to Sweet Cow. And then we heard again that, no, let's not pay for Sweet Cow. Let's just pass out stuff ourselves. So it turned in from something that we were just trying to get Sweet Cow to be there and potentially we'd pay for it, to us being dictated how it was going to work. Again, I never saw this at any open board meetings. I don't know
Right.
who from the board was giving this direction. It was never given directly to us. It went through a series of layers that I can't attest to where it started, but that was how it worked. I'm a little frustrated with how that process.
Because I thought we had Sweet Cow booked.
We
We had to-
did. I had to cancel it.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Well, I'll
So
check
this-
into that.
This sets a precedence, just so you guys know going forward, that we're going to be giving out free ice cream every year for this Jeff and Paige thing. That's, just so everyone's well aware of that, as opposed to we have vendors there.
I'll be very popular.
It'll be the best job of the night, though. I mean, that's like,
yeah. So Mark, I would definitely appreciate it if there was any follow up you could do to find out how all that happened. Allison heard me complain about it for a solid 15, 20 minutes on the phone one day
I'm going
about how all
to
this was
send an
happening.
email tonight, and when we're done, look over my shoulder and make sure we get everything right.
Awesome.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
What's the date, Allison?
16th
Friday the 16th.
of June.
It's that Friday. So, yeah. And when I'm out, I'm out. I'm not running to get any more.
Yeah.
And I figure it will be just ice cream sandwiches or popsicles, because I don't want to get into any nuts or anything that's gonna.
Yeah, keep it simple.
Yeah, that's a good point. In fact, it'd be good if you still had them in the boxes. That way parents freaked out and were like, is this ingredient there? Can my kid have that?
Yeah.
If you could just say, here's the box, look for yourself. All right, calendar note, there's a committee open house on April 26th. Typically, we go out of our way to make sure we're there if we have a opening on the committee, which we currently do. Unless anybody has a burning desire to go there, I'll plan on being there. Again, it's just an opportunity. Usually there's someone from all the committees present, and if anyone from the community is interested in joining any of our committees, they just show up, ask any questions they have, and that's it. Yep. So let's jump to it now. Matt Morris resigned his position, so we are down one. So if you know anybody who's interested, put the word out. Tell them to fill their application out and get it to the board. Alice, you don't know if we've had anybody turn in an application yet, do you?
Not that I know.
Okay.
There was the woman who came and spoke, and I'm blanking on her name.
I am too, and I was trying to find her information, and I could not find it.
At the last meeting, you mean?
Either the last or the one before.
Oh,
that.
I was thinking of somebody else.
No, yeah, she said
Yeah.
she was new
The
to
one-
public speaking and she wanted to be involved.
Yeah.
She would be in our notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Going
for
forward.
the video, we could.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the person who was talking about Hodgson Harris Reservoir?
Yeah.
And,
That was last meeting, right?
Yes.
Yeah, last meeting. They blend together.
well, we've had two. I think we've had two people in a row show up and talk about that. We had two people at our last meeting. The meeting before that, we had one person. But yeah, those are good people. We can definitely reach out to them if we have their contact info. I know we know who they are and where they live, but not sure I'm going to knock on their door.
Ding dong.
Yeah.
And I can mention it, obviously, this weekend. for people to
Exactly.
Stop by the.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yep. Perfect marketing opportunity. Okay. Next, Allison, you want to talk about the dog waste video?
Sure. So the group talked about public outreach and different ideas for the dog waste issue, and the main consensus was that we needed to send out marketing and educational materials. And so one of the things we're doing is we're making a video with Ashley DeLop, who is going to be talking on the video, so that's pretty cool. And then another aspect of the push is an article kind of like the one we sent out in our Parks and Rec and Open Space newsletter about dog waste in Rock Creek Living in June.
Oh, cool.
So that's two different ways that we're, some things that we talked about and started working on.
Excellent.
It's good timing, because Jeff closed that park unless they changed that decision. I know
No,
there
it's still
was-
closed.
Closed for years.
And it's closed for years.
Yeah.
Like that, I know they got a group that's trying to offer different alternatives, but I swear it hasn't been a week since, mid-February that I haven't seen something, at least once a week on TV, during the news or in the paper, that communities all over the state are dealing with
Very
this
common
issue.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would hate to get to those points where you're saying you're closing parks or you're doing stuff like that.
Yep. We just did the next topic, announcing membership change. There's a few other things that that I want to add to this that didn't make the formal agenda. There's Allison, what exactly is it? The newsletter that will be.
Yeah, so Parks, Recreation, Open Space, we have a newsletter that we have been ramping up in the spring, and we usually are continuing it through the summer. And one of the aspects of it is going to be a committee corner. And different committees can write a letter and weigh in. So our first one is going to be Ken, and so he can help to market the cleanup event.
Yeah, so we'll have a little bit of a small corner in this. I'll talk about the cleanup event, talk about what we do, National Trails Day, put that out there, more or less put out who we are, our goals, mission, that sort of thing. That way, just people have a better idea. That was kind of what I was going to touch on. Does anybody have any other ideas or desires that they'd like me to throw into that? I think that more or less covers it, so. Exactly. Very quick. Okay, cool.
And then I had one thing to add, if the group doesn't mind. Just to let everybody know that the trail beside the roundabout that the group was concerned about is, that OSAC made a recommendation about being explored during the construction of the roundabout because of the former Shan Shan property and that area. So it is being explored with the roundabout.
Excellent. So when you say that, more or less talking about how to connect the existing trail, okay. So it's more or less preparing for the eventuality of possibly having a trailhead. Excellent.
I blanked, and I know you said this. When are they doing the summer that they're going to bid out to tear down the house?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
The house cannot be demolished until after August 31st.
Okay. The next thing I just want to touch base on, Sean brought it up. We just wanted to, Allison, I don't know if you've had any continuing conversation with Louisville and Broomfield about setting up kind of a joint meeting so we could touch base on common issues. Do you have any updates on that?
The last where it was left was Louisville wasn't interested in meeting with us this year, and that they, I guess, Broomfield or Lafayette and Louisville were going to be meeting, and this was a few months ago. So she just sent me an email, and I said, hey, how about scheduling this planned meeting? And she said it dropped off their radar, and they weren't interested in meeting this year.
Has there been any communication with Broomfield at all? Is there interest on our committee to try to meet with Broomfield, talk about our shared borders, and see if there's anything? I mean,
I don't remember ever meeting with Broomfield.
We haven't.
That would be great.
We
Since
should, because
the Louisville stuff is probably not that different.
Yeah.
from
Well-
last time. I mean, there's maybe some new stuff, but Broomfield would be all different.
So one thing when Andy and I were out evaluating that Zaharias property, on the other side of 36, is that open space over there?
no, that's the storage type property.
So Phillips 66, right? So is there any possibility that could become open space over there that we could connect into across the highway or up 88th Street? Or I'm just trying to figure out if there's any value add when we're ranking these.
I have a little bit of an inside source because my cousin who I had lunch with was the lawyer for Phillips who sold, did the easements and things. It's essentially just a asset to them at this point. They're not going to build on it. They're not going to relocate people here. At some point, they'll sell it. But I think it's a really high-priced property. I don't expect it will end up being open space, but I think it's certainly worth keeping an eye on because it's valuable. But that was one of the big hang-ups that they had with constructing new office space there, were the significant amounts of open space Louisville was requiring them to put in that build-out. Didn't mesh with their plans for the number of buildings and things like that.
So during evaluation, assume that won't be open space.
But now that you mentioned 88th Street, at the retreat, Louisville did ask that the town consider at some point widening that bridge. as a, just as a throw out of all the things they're doing around that sort of area.
Yeah. For those of you not
For
familiar.
connection into the town's, downtown Superior, and then they said, oh, has any thought been to widen the 88th Street Bridge?
Yeah, so right now there's somewhat of a plan to move forward with connecting Health Park Drive. That's the road that goes through Avista with a brand new bridge that would go into the Superior Town Center so that there would be a connection right there. Louisville had thrown out that let's also at the exact same time explore the alternative of widening 88th. Not saying this is what we would do or anything like that. I think it was just exploring the
Right.
idea.
It was just thrown like an idea at the wall, but just
Yeah.
when you said that, it just reminded me because those two Zaharias and Anderson sit there, and if you have to widen the bridge, there would probably be some type of easement. You'd have to go into those properties a little bit.
Right, and the problem with 88th right there is that I think for either Louisville or Superior to do something, we need to do something together because it doesn't make sense for one municipality to widen the road and fix it, and then all of a sudden it funnels into a 2-lane road on the other side. It's just going to be a disaster. So I think there needs to be coordination there. So,
And
which is good that they are now talking about it.
Yeah.
Because
As someone who lives
originally
there.
they weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have to say, as a citizen, that travels that route, and as my kids get older and go to high school over there, like many of you, I have interest in what they do in that section. There's a lot of traffic at that section.
Which is really
those of
fun.
you who-
If you ever drive there in the morning, they more or less make a brand new lane in the bike lane all the way down 88th to the bridge. It's hilarious to watch because it's totally illegal, but at least people let everyone else drive around who's not going into Monarch. Yeah.
Well, I think there was some thought probably when they did Monarch that they were going to get some easement onto Phillips's property, or even out the other way where there's always the cows. I don't know who owns on the back side of it, but I think you can see their thought was that they would get some other way out of that school, and that did not work, or it didn't happen because everybody has to come out the same way.
So, Allison, are you going to follow up with Broomfield?
Yeah,
Sure.
That'd be great if you could.
I think one of the big things going in that direction that we'd want to talk about is the Rocky Mountain Greenway and trying to make sure that we're on the same page as they are. And I'm not sure Broomfield is the right people to talk to then. Jeffco might actually be a good group. I'm not, is that Jefferson County or is that Broomfield? It is Broomfield right there. Okay.
I think at
Well,
all 3
on
points,
the east side is Broomfield. On the west side
So
of
we're
Indiana,
all
it's
three are
Jeffco.
getting touched right
Yeah,
there.
right
So
there.
Yeah.
Broomfield's still someone we'd want to make sure that
For
we
sure.
can coordinate with.
Their open space department seems to be pretty active. I'm on their email list. They have community engagements. I mean, they
Yeah.
seem to be doing quite a bit.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So yeah, Allison, if you just want to touch base with them, and then we can circle back next month to see if they have any interest in talking with us.
Well, yeah, not just the Greenway, but it's also Jefferson Parkway that's going through there too.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. And then the final thing that I had for tonight, and again, good idea from Sean, is that earlier in this year we had kind of set up leads for certain projects or just things for people to keep an eye on. It might be good just to have a standing agenda item for updates from the leads for each of these projects. So going forward, we'll just have a spot on the agenda for those updates. I didn't pull it up in my notes and don't remember off the top of my head who all was a project lead on what.
Well, I know Matt Morris was for the trailhead, so we need a new lead for that.
Yep.
That's kind of a big one.
Does anybody want to take over?
Do we have it in the notes?
We do have it. I can go back and look it up. What I could do is just look it up and then shoot out an email to everybody, letting them know what
It
we'd all.
might be a good idea if you want to send that to me. I could put them on the work plan items, and then we can just use that work plan template and keep that updated through there if the group wants to.
That'd be great. That's a good idea.
Perfect. Okay, well, I don't see that we're going to take longer on some of these other things, so this is evidently a very slim agenda tonight. Does anybody have anything they want to bring up since we are finishing quite early?
So I guess the question is there somebody that wants to take over for Matt for the trailhead that's open? It's kind of an important,
Yeah.
it's a big task is the problem. I don't know if it's really one person or more. I think it's probably more than one person.
And just to give an idea of kind of where it got left off is Matt Morris had reached out to Matt Magley, the town manager, to see what where it was, what updates there were, kind of what our next steps could be. Matt Magley said that basically we have to sit tight and wait until the Rogers Farm property comes forward with another concept plan, or whether they just move forward with what they have rights to do now, seeing as how that we were trying to use some of their property to access the trailhead. So there's not a heck of a lot we can do right now. I think building ideas is something that could work, trying to figure out ways to make it happen, more or less keeping your finger on the pulse of the issue. So
Yeah, I think a lot can be done with design, to be honest. I mean, there's a lot to be done there in terms of how it's laid out and interacting with staff about, who we have to get involved with Boulder County and.
Well, I think the other thing too to keep track on there is there water lines that run to that structure?
It's all septic and all. It's septic and what's the other one? No, well water.
Well water, so it's not connected.
I don't.
Because I was thinking, because if if it was water lines that went there, not to have those destroyed, because then you could.
Well, electrical. Well, yeah, right. You want to try and build on whatever's existing. Septic.
I mean, whatever exists there, you want to keep it in that demo phase, which obviously can't happen until after the 31st, but you want that thought process that if that's where the lines run, keeping whatever we can, that would then be
utility-wise.
I mean, I don't know, like, we don't sewer out the other ones. They're kind of like, they get pumped, right? The other
They're vault.
bathroom structures, things, so, but it would get running water in, but if it's a well, then you might have to connect to the water mains and stuff, so.
So there is a budgeted amount for design exploration, which has already started.
Okay.
So as soon as,
when you say has already started, who has started what and what is starting?
so a contractor has been hired to explore a possible design for that area. What's possible, maybe a couple of different concepts.
And is that what you were referring to earlier when you talked about the trail by the roundabout being?
That is separate.
Okay.
So who are they going to be interacting with us right off the bat, or are they going to do things with, who are they interacting with?
So they were just hired to come up with feasible concept designs for a trailhead for that property.
Okay. So
like what's possible. And then that would be brought back to the committees.
do you know if there's a timeline on that project for them to
Well,
bring
the
that?
timeline is August 31st.
When we can tear it down.
We have a pretty good running start, but there's no construction funding for the trailhead in the budget this year. It's
Right.
mainly the demolition and exploring if it's possible to design a trailhead there and what the concepts could be for that.
Are they going to conceptually tie into Rogers, or they're not going to touch that? Yes,
I'm not sure. And mainly, you need a preliminary design to even work with Boulder County to have them help with cost, if there is going to be any type of cost sharing, because that parcel is not only owned by Superior. So, the preliminary concept design is the first phase of getting anything started and working with Boulder County.
So to Trish's point, I mean, we want to preserve as much of the original electrical, sewer, water that we can, because I would think we'd want to make it not just a dumpy trailhead, we want to make it a nice trailhead. So I guess, are they taking that into account to try and preserve utilities?
They're going to take different concepts into account that's why the design, preliminary design has gotten started, because, of course, with demolition, we have to make decisions, so.
Can we, go
One
ahead.
other thing through that area, they have to maintain that emergency evac, right? That
They do?
okay,
Or some type of,
emergency.
Can we make sure that we're on the front line of those design discussions? Because being an open space committee, I would want to make sure that we're.
And the board
not
is.
well, as soon
learning
as
about
there's
it.
something, I mean,
You're
we don't have
right.
anything.
But I
Yeah.
mean, at least soliciting input from us as well, not just.
Of course,
about
it's,
it.
And
it's
both-
in the scope of their work is to present to committees and the board.
Because this is the first I've heard of it.
Yeah, I
That
didn't
it was
know
budgeted? You didn't know that it was?
No,
Yeah. It was
we-
recommended, and then
How
it
much?
went through the budget, the
I
group
remember,
recommended it.
I know it was budgeted. I didn't realize we had hired someone. I guess I missed something. But that's-
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't
And
realize,
it's
same
a
thing. I didn't
minor,
realize we'd hired
it's not
anybody.
a large amount of funding, so, trying to get through a lot of the projects early in the year and get them started, just in case going through the different committees and processes might take a long time, so.
So to your point, Sean, if no one else is interested, I would take this on and drop out of the other one.
Yeah, I mean,
unless
I'm willing to
others-
help, but I can't take it on. I got too many other things
And I'm
doing right
happy
now.
to help with whatever. I'm kind of interested. I know I wasn't at the lead meeting, so I'm not a lead for anything. So I'd like to see what's really out there. And I'm assuming Sarah is probably not a lead for anything.
Nope,
either,
and,
so.
and just the background on how we decided that, it was really, if there's anything you're passionate about
Mhm.
and want to be a lead, we didn't say, these are the
Yeah,
projects we
no,
want leads on. So
absolutely.
if there is, I'll shoot out what we did come up
That'd be
with.
great.
But if there's something that's not on there that you do want to, then
Okay.
we can certainly make that happen.
And again, if you want the lead for that and want me to step back, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, so
Two,
whoever,
if
whoever
we-
takes the lead, I'll help. That's all I'm going to say.
But you can put me on as the lead now, Ken, and I'll harass Allison. She's used to me talking
As soon
to her
as
all
I
the time.
get any information, like I'm passing it along,
Yeah.
that this is kind of beginning,
Mhm.
I'm trying to keep everybody in the loop, and I know that there's a
You know
lot
I'm
of
teasing.
different
You know I'm
projects.
teasing you. I always tell everybody when I'm out that we come up with the ideas and then Allison executes.
Yeah.
It makes us look
Jill's
good.
called a-
So she, we say,
Mess.
do this, and then we can look good at the end.
Yeah.
All right, well,
Hey, Ken, since we have a second, I was just curious. I was looking at the Ridge 2 property, and I saw a guy biking up there the other day, and I guess there's a little Jeep road that goes into the backside of Ridge. Did you guys ever discuss or thought about that being another access point out into Boulder, like up through along that fence and up to the
So-
trail up there?
That fence is very close to all the property of the people that live there. I highly doubt, similar to Matt Morse when he started on, I highly doubt they want a trail going right behind their properties. We had discussed that at one point, and actually, I think when Boulder County was here, they had asked if we had, remember that, when they were here? They had asked if we had.
There's water up
considered-
there, too, that you can't go near, right?
Right, so you have, you have the property on one
Groundwater.
side, you have
I
that
mean, you can't
big
get
metal
near it,
fence on the
yeah.
other, and this little strip, so there really isn't. Yeah, that, you have that Jeep trail, but then it goes, that actually goes into the neighborhood.
yeah.
Right, but that's where it kind of ends, and then
Right.
it wouldn't be along those houses anymore. It'd go right along the fence.
Yeah.
But it's, I mean, there's not much space between.
Conceptually, I think that probably fall into the same category as the trail we had talked to Boulder County about, where there's just that little access road
With the gate.
with the gate, and they said, yeah, you'd have to build a ADA compliant
Well, and that
trail.
ADA compliance on that would be really hard.
Exactly.
It's very steep.
And then once they told us that, we then took a step back and said, okay, well, if we're going to put the Shan Shan trailhead there, then that means we're going to have Colton, we're going to have Shan Shan. Do we really need to then spend money on another thing right in the middle?
Yeah.
So I think this is something that we keep in the back of our minds if for some reason Shan Shan doesn't happen.
I was just curious.
But-
It was an access point I'd never really thought about until I was looking around
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
there. So anyway, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Going once, going twice.
Just real quick, has anyone, one more thing, sorry. Has anyone gone over the 76th Street area to look at that property?
That's the one I
Yeah.
haven't seen yet.
My gosh, I'm surprised it was rated so low by the prior committee. I mean, that's, wow, that's something. To get that would be
Wait,
fabulous.
76th?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
right
it's
on,
got that
it's right behind Costco.
Yeah.
But it doesn't connect, like, what does it
It
connect
would,
you to?
you could connect in.
That's a
Because
weird shaped parcel
It
too.
is.
It's like
Yeah,
all
it is
in the
squeezed.
middle of the mix of privately owned
It is. It
pieces.
goes behind the storage thing and the, yeah, it is weird, but wow.
When I looked at it, I couldn't see how you could use it.
So, yeah, yeah.
That was my initial thought, because it was squeezed.
She's thinking the way I'm thinking, so yeah. if you can-
Tracy, you want to knock out
There
those
it
lights?
is.
Oh, so it goes around.
Yeah. So the trail, you can see it is
Everything
right,
but storage.
just see the ditch there? You could actually. Oh,
See, but I
gosh.
thought they said a trail couldn't go back in there. They were looking at that for trying to connect the underpass into the whole trail system, and I thought all of that was out of play for trails.
It is right now only because it's privately owned, that area. I mean, it's all-
Boulder County did come back and say that
Yeah.
it wasn't feasible to put a trail over there.
Why?
It
We
had-
walked it.
It had to do with
Environmental.
Yeah,
some
I
of it might have been
remember.
environmental, but I think a lot of it just had to do with the terrain itself, and that it was to actually create the trail would have been just absolutely excessively expensive,
Really?
if I'm remembering correctly.
We had it on our prioritized trails at one point.
Yeah, it's in their response came back in our Boulder County updates or recommendations. They have a formal recommendation, so we can look that up and see exactly what they said. I remember the answer was no. I'm blanking on the exact reason why.
I thought there was some type of fauna corridor.
I couldn't remember if that was the one with the
Grass.
fauna or if it was
Grass.
out further. They all blend.
Allison, this is the property, right, that they were thinking over 55? Is this the same property?
It was
That we saw a concept plan at one point about
Oh, assisted living.
Senior.
senior assisted living,
What
like
Is that
half.
not happening anymore, or what happened with that?
I
It
think-
came as a concept. We have a lot of concepts that come and then go away.
I don't
But
know if it was this exact parcel or if it was near or adjacent to this parcel.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
But it was behind Costco there with the thought
Mhm.
that then you could walk over to Costco and you could have these other things that would happen and you would have sort of move in and be, independent living and then have a building that would be assisted living. It was that kind of plan.
But
right?
is that not happening anymore, that development? No one knows?
They
Okay.
never came back, I
Okay.
think.
Yeah. Now, I will say that, I mean, as we're ranking these and as we come back next month and talk about them, I'd encourage everybody to think outside the box. I mean, we have a lot of things that have been discussed in town of several different types of issues and or problems. When I looked at that property, one of the things that has been discussed is how it'd be great if there was some type of off-leash area for dogs. The area that just got closed in Jeffco was in kind of an idea of a off-leash hiking area with dogs. So it's a dog park, but not your traditional dog park. I haven't been out to actually visit that and see exactly how big it is, but that was the first thing that jumped to my mind, that maybe this is the type of area that could be a great compromise where we could kind of fence it off and be a very natural, open dog area. But
If you've ever been down in Sims on a Saturday morning for the Westminster Off-Leash Dog Park, that place is insanely busy.
Mhm.
It's a huge parcel.
yeah, so similar to Davidson Mesa Dog Park,
Mhm.
also. So
May I? Where are you? There it is.
yeah, just something to keep in the back of your minds as you're looking at things. If there's ideas.
Gosh, where are we?
You're
Okay.
We're going to annex Erie, is that our next one?
I think Lafayette's, yeah. Lafayette's already trying hard enough.
So there is some kind of a current trail in that property that goes almost all the way here. There's just that little space, that little gap. That's why I'm surprised it wasn't.
So-
To get from there to there.
I
is-
think what
must
they
be.
said wasn't possible was connecting the underpass, because that's been the priority,
It was
right?
going out
The-
that way.
The underpass
Yeah.
to connect
It was
into
But,
the.
well, that, sure, but the underpass is up here. Louisville was talking about it going through their property up here
Mhm.
on the water. Whereas if we do the underpass, people can come off here and then come down and catch a trailhead here.
But I think we
So-
said it couldn't come around 76th. I remember
Well,
something
what
on
was
that.
being looked at and what Boulder County said no to was making it do this.
Right.
That was,
As
so,
opposed to around and then.
yeah, so this I don't think was evaluated, nor was it something that we recommended. So if this is something that
You just
is
have-
possible,
that
and all we
is
would have
that
to do is
gap.
this.
Kind of little bridge across
Yeah,
the ditch.
I mean, that's something that we can definitely consider. I
Yeah,
know
so-
that there's that fence for the cattle,
Right.
because this is all ranching space.
Right.
So that's, again, I mean, we'd have to totally get Boulder County's buy-in on this, but that hasn't been considered, and it's certainly something we should
So,
take
yeah,
into
again-
account.
Again, when you're evaluating, also look at maps, earth view of this stuff too. Instead of, I mean, you can only walk so far, obviously, but make sure you're looking at the earth view of
So,
this stuff.
of that parcel, how far west does it go? Because,
I think probably to that fence.
Yeah, I mean,
That's pretty far, I think.
so who owns the space behind the fence?
Over here?
Yes.
Boulder County.
yeah.
That's Boulder County land that they lease to ranchers.
There's also the
Yeah,
ditch
well, we're down here.
rights
So
to the,
here's where
for
I
the
think
ditch
we're-
company. Mhm.
Yeah.
Sorry, here, this is where we walk.
Okay, that's right.
Right here. We walked all the way back to here.
And if everybody can just keep in mind when you're evaluating the parcels that it is private property. I know I sent an email, but
Mm-hmm.
Did someone
Just-
complain?
no, but
I mean, Andy and I got stopped by the police, so.
Which, I'm surprised you guys got,
They were, yeah, they were nice.
I'm surprised.
so we don't have permission, or the group did not obtain permission from the owner. So I would just be
Yeah.
cognizant.
Well, it was on the
that-
Anderson property, right? The Anderson property has the signs up there that more or less welcomes people, but says it's at your own risk. So
Right.
I'm surprised that.
You truly
But-
did get stopped by the police?
Well, we were driving back there, and they were just wondering what we were doing, basically, and they're like, we were like on open space. Oh, great, go ahead. There is a sign, but it goes the other direction. Like, okay.
I just
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely be respectful. Yeah, we don't want to, be respectful of land rights, but
That's all I wanted to say.
cool.
No, that's a good point, thanks.
Okay.
But I swear that was the property that came for the concept plan for 55. I
Yeah.
mean, it was right there by Guardian Storage, I thought, so.
Ditto.
Yeah, yeah, like they do in Louisville. They have the dog park and then the access across. Davis, yeah.
The views are great at the end of that trail.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Oh, I used to live back there. I'd always do the running on those trails. That's a beautiful trail to run on. Okay. Well, now I think we're getting close. Going once. Sean.
So much to say. Got to catch it from last meeting.
All right. In that case, adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Yep.
Great shirts this year.
I'll try to make a longer agenda next time.
You never know what's gonna.
Yeah. You would run back there just on the actual trail there, or
On the
this
rail
other
trail.
trail?
No, on the rail trail. Hand in the back.
Do I have the wrong one? I got two mediums. Did somebody take a large? I took a large. Here, I'll switch out for you.
Thank you. Allison, was there any more? Was it that development that started? You know, the one that we talked about, the trail, they're gonna develop the trail.
Oak Creek Crossing?
Yeah.
It's still under review by Boulder County, or
That is 100% accurate.
re-review.
I was still trying to figure out where they're gonna put it.
You can actually see where their trail goes, and it looks like it's done.
The real thing that's frustrating is how, where all this is supposed to go.
Yeah, it's on the, if you drive in there,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm walking over there. I do the same thing. I'm like, where is it? Awesome. Let's do this. Is it going to go across it? Is it going to go?
Yep, we can throw it.
So basically,
So here's the fence line
yeah.
that goes down here.
So it's like, it comes to like here.
Oh, where that, yeah. where
Or
that
somewhere
fence
like
is.
right in here, and the trail comes, oh, no, I think it almost comes to like here.
Really?
I think so. I'll have to go back,
So you
I'll
can actually
look.
see it from down here?
When I was here, I could see where the trail was right in here. And there's a little social trail right here that just connects it. So you could probably even walk it.
Interesting.
But it's
Hey, Jen,
close.
is your
yeah,
wife gonna,
so.
oh, I thought you were
No.
You have the same
I get
color
that all the
shirt
time.
on. You have the same color shirt.
Okay, that's interesting. So they have
That's
gone
close.
across, but it's just that little stretch along the ditch there.
Because I think
guess.
the property line is about here, if I remember
Right.
right. And yeah, but I remember when I looked at it, it caught my eye that, oh, that's done.
Huh.
So it was cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Glad you brought up 76, because I didn't realize it went back that far. I thought it just went back to where the storage ended.
Yeah.
But it's actually a much bigger piece of property than I thought.
Sure, yeah.
Glad you brought that up, because I was going nuts trying to fill out those forms. Just so everyone
I agree. Well, you know, Andy and I said, he's like, well, let's go and do it together, whatever. So we did. I'm like, gosh, I mean, going education, like.
Are you guys done with this?
Yeah, we are.
Awesome.
Well, I had the same thing. I said in my head I can rank order these for 4 or 5 criteria that really matter. Right. So I'm glad we got to that. Alrighty, well, got a half hour back already. I love it. I know.
Really, have a good night, everyone else, and I don't know how you do it.
What do you mean?
All the hours you put in, gosh, all these things people want.
It's awesome. I know, it's interesting. I mean, I love the job.
I know you do, I'm sure you
Creative.
do, but I'm sure you're like, gosh, why can't they compress both into one? I can see that, I'm like, yeah, like, all the programming really does could be one thing. I mean, Arbor Day, everything, that could all be one kind of thing. Or rankings could be one thing.
Well, Arbor Day
I don't know what
is
this is.
Parks and Rec and open space. It's not a committee run, it's our department run.
Right.
Yeah,
But-
so it's a little different, but everybody contributes, all the committees help.
Yeah. Have we ever given away trees in Arbor Day, like old trees?
Yeah. I guess we kind of cycle things through, so every couple of years we change it up a little, we'll do something different.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, because I was
We
thinking,
did
oh,
blue
please, I hope they're giving
spruce.
away trees this year.
We
I
did
need
blue
one.
spruce one year,
Oh,
and we did a couple deciduous ones another year. I think we kind of rotate around.
Gotcha.
So we're doing the circuit type event this time
Right.
because of all the new park amenities that we thought that would be cool.
So are they planting the trees in the park? On Arbor Day?
Yeah, just like we do at Founders.
Okay.
So the new parks are constructed, and then we like Founders. We had Arbor Day for a few years there, planted trees, and we'll kind of do this.
Gotcha. Where are they